So now we're done installing with the turn fins. So, I got the one side carbon fin on there, just kind of see how it kind of looks. I did already went ahead and kind of mounted this one side as kind of a reference. This side was a little more funkier because sometimes with some builds, it happens like that. So, this corner of the rudder right here, I had to file that away a little bit to gain access so I can install the trim tab properly, at its, parallel angle and its height. So I still got a little more adjusting on this, but, it's on there. We'll come back to it. And so the main, idea is, about an 1/8 to a 1/16 lower than the back of the boat. And then allows for some adjusting. And so we're gonna go ahead and install this side on this side right here. And then the rudder, I did end up making a decision shortly ago, changing how the rudder is. The original L bracket that was here, this guy right here, I went to a T style because this one right here set the rudder back just a little bit, towards the hull. And I honestly wanted and this is user preference, the rudder a little bit farther out, so that way, my leading edge was almost, right with this here. And so, I feel like, especially with the monos, a little bit farther out on the rudder itself, kind of help smooth out the turn a little bit more. Maybe a little bit, I feel like it's a little bit less aggressive because it, maybe lessens the turning force on it. Kind of like a, pivot point, or maybe it's a little bit farther out. But I don't know, to me, I feel a little bit longer, and more in line with the propeller. That's how I've always, liked it and preferred. So that's why I set it out. I previously drilled, a couple holes here. So, I had to get creative, and I did this, carbon fiber little piece right here with a couple little nuts, kind of giving it, kind of a nice clean look, barely can even tell. And then some trim tabs. I was going to do some different trim tabs, but they were like 2 inches long, 2 inches wide. And, I didn't really care for the look of them. And so I ended up changing them and going to this, double trim tab style, trim tab that's just under, it's like 1 7/8 inches long by 2 1/4 wide. So that way I can have, the inner tab be able to control, the how the boat rides in the water. So basically bow up, bow down, and then the outside one for turning. So, end up, changing that around, and then maybe do something like a nice, cover piece on top of the rudder itself. So add a little bit of a style or decoration, whatever. Not needed, but you don't have to. Anyway, so mounting trim tabs, I found, again, using, something like this, give me my elevation so I can easily install the trim tab. Now, where to put the trim tab, again, side to side, we're at, most of the time, like a rule of thumb is about where the center line is, the bottom of the boat, about 1.5 inches out. That's where, the inside edge of the trim tab will be. And so that way, it doesn't disrupt the water flow of the propeller. And that, the 1.5 inches can be, slightly changed. You can go in a little bit farther or farther out. It just depends on that propeller, how big you're going to be running it. My maximum I'm going to be running on this is maybe close to 50 millimeter. So 50 mil, almost like a 2 inch diameter propeller, give or take. It's about, 1 7/8 inches, so basically, 1.9 by 14 maximum. So just under 2 inch. So what, I do, you can adjust it to whatever works for you. So I will put the trim tab on here and line it up to my marks. So I got a mark right there, my inside mark. I'll use, my reference gauge I have on the bottom of the hole. Hold it there, hold it against the back of the hole. So I can at least get my first hole done. Just like that. So So it's on, and the reason to, you can be as low as, 1/16 to an eighth. I like to go to an eighth, so that way I can drop the tab. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of super glue, I'll glue these two pieces together at its, maximum lowest point, so it adds more adjustability. I can adjust it down a little bit more if I like to. So, and this kind of holds it all together to be able to get something started. Oh. Change that guy out, put our drill bit in. A lot of times when you're picking out hardware, it can be very difficult. The easiest thing to do is just, look at the description under the hardware and kind of go off the description. Because sometimes they'll say, fit sizes of, boats this size. I will kind of reference a little bit off that, and then a lot of times just kind of what looks right. And if it's your first time, yes, it could be confusing. You can ask a few people, even ask, the vendor that you're sourcing out. Like, I go, a lot to Offshore Electrics with Steve. Steve is very helpful, and he can, answer all the questions that's needed and, get you set up to the appropriate size that you're working with. So, this here is a 34-inch boat long. So, hardware between a 30 to 40-inch is perfect for this size. So now we got the one side mounted already, and then check our kind of elevation to the bottom. It's holding for the most part flat to that. I don't feel no difference. And go ahead and mount that side. Let's see if we can let's roll it down. So we take this off now. All right, so we got it on. It's still loose. I'm still really high, but that's okay. So from this point, basically, we're just kind of so what I'm trying to do is break the glue so I can drop the trim tab just a little bit more and get it to where it's maybe about a little over a 1/16. Here's one side finally. There it goes. And I'll try to use whatever I can for any type of good references to set some of the heights on some of the stuff. It makes it easier than trying to go back and forth and measure. And so the popsicle sticks I usually buy those by the bags. They're useful in so many different things. So Now we can set it, so I'll just take the screwdriver. So a little bit over, this is about a 1/16. So and there's kind of my gap right there. It's a little over a 1/16. There's a ruler, just double check. Yeah, just a little bit over, which is perfect. Millimeter wise, it's like 2.5 millimeters. It's perfect. Now we go ahead and tighten everything up and call it good. So we do that. The adjustment screws. I've been thinking about painting this. I'm not sure yet. I know it's gonna have a theme. So, you know, at the end, I'll come back and set all the hardware, set the heights, and, you know, right now, this is just to get the hardware on and installed, so that way I can start working on the inside. You know, setting all the COG, and we'll cover that when that time comes. At one side. I do like how these fins look on the boat. And these are just temporary on there. Again, we'll come at the end and set everything else up, but there we go. Get in there. Well, thanks for watching this part here. We will return with more parts and getting to the inside. So we're, you know, it's taking shape now. Well, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys find this kind of info for, you know, installing hardware, and, you know, it can be adjusted for different size of boats as well.